The average person in 20 years will see 3 to 5 major incidents. A cop sees 700 in 20 years. That at some point you get to a place where you're like, f it.
Drug addiction and alcoholism, still it finds a way to affect lives. And it doesn't discriminate. You know, you're on the front lines of it, and it's an epidemic.
If there is fentanyl in one of these drugs, 1 gram of that in your system will kill you. Every single time you put that pipe in your mouth, you're gonna die right now. And I need you to think about that every single time.
I remember sitting in jail like, okay, I'm gonna change my life. And that's like the worst because you're not numb anymore.
It's good for the world to see law enforcement from a different perspective than what they see on the news all the time. We have to reconnect with the world. And just because of your background, the fact that I've been in law enforcement doesn't mean that we can't be friends. In fact, we should be friends.
The switch is either flipped on or flipped off.
That's it.
Today we're talking about mental illness.
You're fine. Start over.
Start over. Welcome to Bear It All with Lindsey. You guys, I'm so excited. We have an incredible guest here. Not only is she an incredible guest, but a great friend of mine. She's been in law enforcement for over 20 years, and today we're touching on alcoholism, addiction, and mental illness from the standpoint of someone in law enforcement versus someone who's actually lived it on a day-to-day basis. So I'm so excited. Let's jump into it.
I'm excited to be here, Lindsey.
Thank you so much.
I think your guests should know we've been friends for about 1.5 years, and today's our first meeting.
Isn't that so funny? There's people, though, I'm like, do I know you, or do I, like, social media know you, right?
Yes.
Because you know people's whole lives. I'm like, I've watched your kids grow up, I've all that, but, like, have I actually physically met you?
Right, and do we know anything about one another? You know,
I know.
With you and I, with our social media and businesses and public speaking
Right.
and everything, we probably do the same thing. We add everyone as long as it's a regular person.
For sure.
They want to be inspired. They want to learn. And so everybody gets added to our pages.
Right.
But then a few of those people stand out and you actually become lifelong friends. And I know that about you.
So fun.
You know?
I just love it. Like, people are meant to come in your lives for certain reasons. And it's so funny how we're both on complete opposite ends of it, but it's something that affects us both on a regular, basis. I work with people on a daily basis that are currently like the front lines of just getting out of addiction, just lost their kids, just lost everything, where you're really on the front lines with it.
Yes,
so tell us a little bit about that.
It's 2 completely different perspectives of the same thing, right? And you lived it, you breathed it, you did it. And something about you that I've always been inspired of just since the moment I saw your story was I speak to inmates daily. I work in a facility and been in law enforcement for a long time as a sworn peace officer. And I'm seeing people who are in that midst of addiction.
Right.
And mostly women at this point for what I do. And, I try to give them inspiration and I try to coach them. I try to mentor them, show them what is on the other side of sobriety and addiction as much as I can. And as you know, when you're in it and you're chasing that euphoric high that you can never find fully since you did it first time, is from what I've learned.
Right.
You keep trying, and then pretty soon you hit that rock bottom, is what I've learned in these stories. And at that point, it's almost like, what is the point of getting sober now? And I feel like a lot of them get to that point. What's the point now? I've lost everything. And I try to remind them, and I talk about you since I've heard your story.
I love that.
Here's what is on the other side of sobriety. Here's what is on the other side of fighting these demons in your brain.
Right.
And what is possible. You can get your kids back. You can get your life back. Not only can you get it back, you can be incredibly successful in whatever passion you have, but you can't quit. You have to do it. And you said something to me on the phone yesterday, and I'd like you to repeat it if you could remember.
Oh, yeah. So we were talking about, like, what does it actually take? And so many people ask me that. So many family members are like, what do I have to do for my family member to finally be done? And they have to get to the point where the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain and fear of changing. But, there's that, like, rock bottom moment. I have been in jail many times, and I share that publicly. So people know, anybody who follows my social has seen my mugshots. And I remember sitting in jail, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna change my life. And that's like the worst because you're not numb anymore. You're not drunk, you're not high, and so you have to feel all of it. And it's kind of like in life, you make one wrong turn, another wrong turn, but you remember how to get back. But when you've been going for 10, 12 years, like wrong turn, you're like, where the do I even start? Like, is it worth it? Like you said, like, is it even worth it? Am I just going to struggle for the rest of my life? Am I going to be miserable? Because when you first get sober, you're like strung with anxiety and fear and guilt and shame and all of this. So it's like, can I overcome this ever? And jails are like definitely a spot that you would deal with that.
They are, you know, and recently in recent years, and I'm sure in all time of correctional settings, drugs introduced into a correctional setting is a thing.
Oh yeah,
I think
for
it's,
sure.
It's becoming more prevalent, and it's a shame for me because I see people, especially the women that I work with, working on sobriety, and then they're faced with making a decision while they're in a place where it shouldn't be.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, I try to teach these gals and men too that I work with that you're going to struggle. Life is not an easy place. It was never meant to be easy.
Right.
So when you're out there and you're faced with a horrible day, a horrible situation, that doesn't get fixed because you get high or drunk. That doesn't get changed and go away because eventually you're sober again and the problem is still there.
The problem's here.
That's right.
People think that the problem is the drugs and the alcohol. That's just their coping mechanism. That is what they've chose to cope and got addicted to it. But that's not the problem. Wherever you go, here you are, right?
That's right.
You're there. So unless you get in there and you fix the problem, you're always going to struggle. If you get off of alcoholism, it's going to turn into gambling. If it doesn't turn into gambling, it'll probably turn into men or women or sex or anything like that because you're just trying to cover that empty feeling inside.
That's exactly right. And even for those of us who've never had a drug addiction problem, I've never used drugs. I was smart enough not to do that. I grew up with a mom who was a teenager in the 70s.
Right.
So I got to hear of all the fun things that drugs do, you know, when you're having a good time and you're not thinking. And luckily my mom was able to get out from that as well. But she was always very honest with me, very blunt about what it can and will do to your life. So I was kind of a square and stayed away from it. And I'm glad I did. You know, and I can't speak from that perspective, but as you know, as a sober person, it's the same exact mentality. The problems are in here, you know.
100%.
I suffer from anxiety and depression. I suffer from my own mental health stuff that I work on every day. And I can mask it all day if I wanted by having a drink or 5.
Right, right.
You know, and that's readily available to all of us. I feel like sometimes alcohol is the worst drug of them all.
It is because it's so easy and they're like, well, it's legal.
That's right.
It's legal. It's not, I'm not doing a street drug. I'm not all of that. Alcoholism breaks up so many families. I mean, you know, it's just as bad.
It is just as bad. And it's, like you said, it's right there on the street corner. Nobody cares if you buy it.
Right.
You don't have to hide, you know, but it destroys your life and others around you just as easily.
It does. And it's wild how, like, you've never used a drug in your life, but your life is still affected, and drug addiction and alcoholism still it finds a way to affect lives, whether, and it, you know, you're on the front lines of it. So you see it on a day-to-day basis, and it's an epidemic. And it doesn't discriminate. It goes from the person who comes from generational wealth. Look at, you know, stars like Lindsay Lohan, Robin Williams.
Yes.
What's his name? The star or drummer from Blink-182, Kourtney Kardashian. Travis Barker. He's sober now, but it goes anywhere from that next to the child that grew up parentless in the project.
That's right.
There is no discrimination. Like, people tend to think that if you grow up in a beautiful neighborhood or a beautiful family, like, you're going to be okay. And that's not necessarily the truth. Like, it does not discriminate. It affects people in all walks of life.
That's the best thing to say, because it doesn't matter what color you are, what race you are, what your religion is, your ethnicity. If you put that pipe to your mouth or that needle in your arm, and I try to be blunt with the people I coach and mentor who are suffering from this. Just consider this your last breath. Every single time you put that pipe in your mouth with meth in there or whatever it is you're smoking, this is your last moment. You're going to die right now. And I need you to think about that every single time. Because with the introduction in our society today of fentanyl, if there is fentanyl in one of these drugs, and oftentimes today there is,
so much,
it will kill you instantly. And people don't understand that. The fentanyl stops the receptors in your brain from letting your body breathe. So you think you're getting a meth high or a heroin high, and you get fentanyl, you're going to die.
It's insane. Thank God, when I was I've been sober almost 10 years, but in my addiction, fentanyl wasn't really a thing yet. And thank God, because I would have took anything. I'd have been at a party and someone's like, oh, look, and I'd be like, oh, sure, shit. I don't know what it is, but cool, I'll take 2. Maybe 3. Let me get 3. So I am so grateful that I got sober before this fentanyl age. I work with these girls and like they're all hooked on the fentanyl. They are all these beautiful, incredible, they have the most gorgeous children and beautiful families and all that. And they're hooked on that fentanyl. It's insane.
It's one of the more addicting drugs and one of the more deadly drugs. And I try to tell people, especially young folks, 1 sugar gram size of carfentanil. There's fentanyl that you use for medication purposes, and it's different than carfentanil, which is coming over the border. 1 gram of that in your system will kill you. So if you get a fake Percocet or a fake Xanax and it looks exactly the same, if it has 1 gram in there, you're going to stop breathing. And it won't need 1 Narcan to bring you back. It often takes 4 or 5. Most people don't have 4 or 5, even if they have 1.
Well, you guys, law enforcement is dealing with that on a daily basis. The overdoses are insane. Tell me a little bit about like that. Talk about it.
You know, I mean, just on the street, it's prevalent, but also inside it's prevalent. And, you know, and people don't realize that. And like you said, you would have taken anything because you were addicted to things. And
like I didn't think about consequences. Sure. Oh, that's a Norco? Yeah, let me get one.
That's right.
Yeah.
Not realizing it. 9 times out of 10, you'll be okay. It's that 1 time out of 10 that you're not. And the scary part for our younger generation is, you know, when we were kids, to rebel, we would break into our mom's whiskey bottle and sneak a little whiskey, right? Kids nowadays cannot rebel. They cannot smoke a joint of weed and think that they're just going to come out on the other side of it. It doesn't work like that. Maybe get a hangover or get grounded. It's not that way anymore. You could die, you know, and kids are getting poisoned. They're not knowingly taking the fentanyl or whatever, but they're taking something that they think they're having fun with, and then it kills them. And so I just try to remind people of that younger generation especially. You know, and I think people with drugs in California don't realize this now, and I don't know if you do even as a recovering addict, but drugs like methamphetamine and heroin and cocaine and crank and everything are misdemeanors now. Our state voted
I didn't realize that.
for those to be misdemeanors now. So whereas before, if you were stopped by law enforcement and you had some meth in your pocket, we would take you to jail on a felony. Then you would have been potentially forced into a program for sobriety in lieu of going to jail or staying in jail.
And then it gets dropped to a misdemeanor if you go to the program.
Right. So you have a chance. And I know few people who got sober because they were literally forced. They didn't want to go to jail or prison, so they chose it. Now they're misdemeanors. A misdemeanor is a suspended license. It's the same thing. It's a citation. You go to court later.
Right.
Do you think the guy on the street or the girl on the street using meth cares about a citation for court from 3 months from now?
No.
It's not going to force them into a program. And I think that's a huge problem for our state. And it's just...
I could definitely see that as a problem. But, you know, so I, for instance, when I got sober, I couldn't remember how many times they had been arrested because like it was a big fog. And so I went to apply for life insurance and they're like, okay, we just have to run a background. And he shows me this stack of paper like that. And I was all, what is that? He's like, oh, that's your background. Like 21 times. I had 21 mugshots. And they were for the simplest things of usually under the influence, possession of meth. Then, exactly what you said, I would go to court. They would assign me to like Prop 36 or drug court. I would never show up or I would get dirty tests. And so then I would not have a driver's license. I would be driving around, get suspended. So it's like a domino effect. Yes. By the time I got sober, when I went into rehab, I had warrants in Sacramento County, Yellow County, Placer County, and El Dorado County.
That you had to go clear up.
That I had to go clear up. And you know what's wild? I went in there, every single judge pretty much let me, not off, but I went in there and I was just like, here it is. This is what I did. Here's my life today. And every one of them was like, good for you.
That's right.
Yeah.
They want to reward people finding their sobriety.
100%. Not any place did I get any jail time, anything. Yeah, I got some probation. I had a DUI, so I had to do like lots of classes and stuff. But I mean, the court system, they want to see that. You go in and you say, look, I screwed up for 12 years, but I'm sober today. I'm trying to rebuild my life. I had, like 19 points on my driving record. I had to go to a special court that I never knew existed. DMV has their own court.
That's insane.
It's so crazy. And I went in front of them and I'm like, look, how can I rebuild my life if I can't drive around? I have kids. And they're like, we've never given a license to somebody with that many points, but here you go. Good luck with insurance.
That's amazing.
Which they were right. I paid like thousands. I still, because it's going to fall off March of next year, I still pay $1,000 a month for insurance.
That's insane. And it's taken this long to get back.
Right.
But you got back.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
That's the point.
For sure.
And I think a lot of times first of all, people who suffer from mental health issues feel like they're completely alone. Nobody understands.
100%.
Nobody could possibly understand what I'm struggling with. And I hate to break it to people, but we're all struggling with mental health issues.
Dude.
We're all
100%.
dealing with stuff in today's world.
100%.
And getting high or drunk is not taking the problem away.
Yep.
Therapy is not necessarily taking it away, but I promise you it's not going to get you locked up either.
It's going to help. It's going to help talking about it. But that's so funny that you said that because I haven't heard a lot of people say that. But it's so true. We all, doesn't matter, all walks of life. That's another thing that doesn't discriminate. We all struggle from anxiety. We all struggle from kind of depression at times. All of these things, and it's how you cope with it, right? Do you go get high? Do you go drink? Do you go over gamble? Sexaholic? All these things, like, how do you choose to cope with that?
And each person has to find their new and healthy coping mechanism.
Right.
People feel like they don't have a healthy coping mechanism until you break it down to them that, yes, there are these options. And, a doctor, when I was a teenager and I was diagnosed with anxiety, and anxiety affects us all differently. For me, it gives me terrible stomach aches, makes me shaky, things like that. And, nobody wants to do life with a stomach ache.
Right.
And the thing that he said, which really changed me as a 15-year-old, was, learn how to enjoy cleaning. It's funny that you own a cleaning business because since then I have been a cleanaholic. So I clean every single day. I do something cleaning.
So that's your coping mechanism.
It helps me cope like crazy.
That's wild.
It's physical movement coupled with immediate results and reward. So and I tell people, if you're struggling with anxiety, get up. The worst thing you can do is sit and just do nothing and just be a bump on a log. That's the worst thing. I've learned to love the gym and exercise.
Yeah, that's a great one.
So have
for
you.
Sure.
And so these like movement activities with almost an instant result of serotonin dump is what somebody who suffers from anxiety needs.
Right. It's the quick like dopamine hits.
That's right.
I mean, that's what people want, instant gratification, right? And one thing that I remember I had to learn early on when I got sober is feelings are not facts and get the hell out of here. Like my brain, still to this day, I'm almost 10 years sober, and my brain still like comes up with ideas that I'm like, that's a fucking horrible idea.
That's right.
That is a horrible idea. Let's not do that, right? And so it doesn't matter where you're at in life, like we all struggle with that. And it's like finding ways to deal with it, but also knowing that feelings are not facts. Just because you feel something doesn't mean it's actually true. It doesn't mean you have to act out on it. It doesn't mean it will pass.
It always passes.
It always passes. It always passes. There's moments where you're like, the world is freaking ending. My life sucks, da-da-da-da-da. And it's like 2 hours later, you're like, oh, yeah, I'm good. I was just hungry.
Isn't that great? Right. Yeah. I was hungry.
I was just hungry.
I
I'm good
needed a
now.
nap and a sandwich.
Yes,
and I'm better.
That's exactly what it is. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Or, it was maybe that time of the month. And
it's so true.
That was last week. This week, we're good. We love life. Life is great. That was last week that we were struggling.
And I just remember, you don't, just because you have a thought, I'm like kind of like a 24-hour sitter. So if you make me mad and I want to say mean things to you and I care about you, I'll call you in 24 hours.
Oh, I love
because
that.
Because I probably won't want to say the same things and I'll probably just want to work through it. So I always tell people, if you have something mean to say, take 24 hours and rethink it. If you still want to say it, then say it. But I bet you don't. And so I kind of do that same thing too. It's like I take a minute, and I think I was watching a podcast recently. I can't remember if it was Brené Brown, somebody who's a speaker.
Yeah.
But she talked about something called brain dumping.
Uh-huh.
And I think people like you and me, or people who have ADHD, right? A little bit of OCD.
All of it. Okay.
Brain dumping is like, get a piece of paper out and write everything. I'm a list taker. I'm more of a bullet maker.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to write a paragraph, but I'll bulletproof everything that's in my brain. Even if it's just mop the floors today, right? Go
Right.
to the gym, like I'm brain dumping.
I like
Don't
it.
be mad. Take a deep breath. So brain dumping in the last couple months for me has been significantly helpful. And I think people with our mentality can really benefit from it.
Oh, yeah.
And just, I think too, it's important in today's world where there's so much division. That's why my business is called Connect. When I created it, I was thinking, what is it? Connect with a cop, how about just connect?
Yeah.
Because all human beings need to reconnect in life. And the way
I
that we
agree.
do that is through communication and transparency, is through interpersonal connection and relationship. And if we don't do that, we will continue to stay divided. The world will continue to live with blinders on, thinking everything about me is the most important thing, when it isn't. Stop and say something to somebody. You know what I mean? I just got to talk to a little girl that walked by, and it immediately brought me some happiness, and it brought her some happiness. We have to reconnect with the world, and just because of your background, the fact that I've been in law enforcement doesn't mean that we can't be friends. In fact, we should be friends.
Right. I remember
Should.
we were like friends online, and you seen one of my first videos where I showed, I think it was like my either mug shots or something like that. You reached out, you said, no way,
Yeah.
what?
This is great.
And I was like, yes, yes.
You did that. You did that.
And
know?
that's another is like, I think the world struggles so much of, we as humans sometimes naturally are self-centered. The way you said, like, get out of ourselves. We tend to get so busy in life that all we worry about is us. Like, for instance, my 9-year-old daughter. She's, at that age, they get embarrassed of everything. And I'm like, I promise you, baby, everybody is so concerned with their self that nobody is paying attention to what you're doing at this moment, getting out of the car at school.
Yep.
Or
They don't care.
Yeah, if
They
you
don't care.
trip walking into school. Nobody noticed because they're so worried about their self looking
That's
cool.
right.
And that's how a lot of people in the world are,
They're just so caught up in the day-to-day grind, which is fine. You and I are hustlers and grinders.
Right,
And
for
it's good
sure.
to be focused on that positive success. But at the same time, you need to stop and smell the flowers and touch some grass. And like even with like you could teach your kid, and she's a social media dancer. She wants to
She's
dance.
a queen.
and
My
she's the
girls,
queen,
man,
right?
God hooked me up.
They did,
I am like,
you know?
man, I'm a lucky, lucky mama.
And what happens, Lindsay, when we post something and we get shit talkers, what does that mean? Our algorithms go up. I always say thanks for watching.
I love that. When I
Yeah.
posted one of us, we were on a cruise, and me and the two girls, we had matching swimsuits because we always got to do the matching
remember that.
outfits. Yeah. Oh, that one. I started seeing all these horrible comments. I said, oh, that one's doing good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
okay.
getting paid because of your
I mean, the comments, though, girl. I can't even say them on here. And I was like, you're talking about a 9-year-old little girl. You're lucky I don't know where you live.
Okay, well, don't even get me started because I'll get
I
mad.
mean, people online, that's a whole
I
nother
know,
conversation.
that is.
But you're right. With the more comments you get, you're like, oh, my shit's doing good.
Yep, I'm like, if you're commenting, even on social media or in real life, you're still watching, and I hope I can inspire you.
100%.
Yeah.
You're taking time out of your day. I had one guy go on my social media, and okay, sometimes I get busy driving, and maybe I cut someone off here or there, Hey, we're all trying to live life. And he goes on my social media and posts, you must still be a junkie because you drive like one.
Oh, my God.
This is like the other day, and I'm like, I want to be like, listen here, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
But instead I was like, I hope you have an incredible day, and whatever is going on with you that has caused you to be so hurtful, I hope it gets better.
Yes, ma'am.
Heart. And left it that.
And I'm with you on that. I used to go to war with people.
Oh,
and
yeah, it's not even
now
worth it.
I literally just try to give them, obviously you're in something, and I'm sorry for you.
Something is going on.
You're
Yep.
probably not a bad person either. You've just made a mistake.
100%.
As I do all the time. So if I go off on you, you're going to go back off on me, and who wins?
Hurt people, hurt people. 100%.
Empowered people, empower people.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
I'm going to give you love. I don't care what you said to me. It's all good.
love that.
Go forth and conquer. I don't want you in my life, but I want the best life for you.
Right.
Because me bringing you down doesn't bring me up. So if that's how you get up, great, but I don't think so.
Well, and being in law enforcement, so my sister works at the prison, so she's a correctional officer.
Okay.
And I know she gets, inmates just talking crap to her all day long.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure you struggle with the same thing, or people, I mean, say hurtful things, comments like that. But also, you know, I feel like you're so strong in yourself, and you have to be like, if you're out in the public, right? You're on social media, you're putting yourself out there, you have to be tough, right? You have to be like, you don't have to like me because I like me.
That's right.
You don't have to be okay with what I share. I mean, there's so many people that are like, oh, should we be proud of you because you're a crackhead? I don't give a shit if you're proud of me or not, because guess who's proud of me?
God's proud of me.
I'm proud of you.
You're proud of you.
God's proud of me.
That's right.
And beyond being proud of me, I don't share my story so that you're proud of me. I share my story so that the woman sitting over there with her kids taken from her in CPS, in the bathroom with a pipe or a needle, not thinking that she can ever go on, can look over and see like, oh, wow.
I can do it too.
She literally was at rock bottom, and look at her life now. That's why I'm doing it.
That's right. The people that will be positively affected are the ones that needed it.
100%.
You know, and those just talking crap, they're bringing up your algorithms, and we're getting paid from them. So
That's
it's all good.
That's exactly it.
You know?
And you know, I think there's something so amazing about people like you share your life very openly, and you're, you know, on podcasts, you're on social media, you're on all these things, and it takes a brave person. It takes a very brave person to get out there and be like, these are my struggles. This is how I deal with them. This is what I've overcome. And this is what I still deal with. Like, people need to understand, you know, how you said the things you still deal with. Me, almost 10 years sober. A lot of people look at, you know, my life on social media and they're like, you got it made, and God has given me a life beyond my wildest dreams. Like, I look at my life sometimes and I'm like, is this even for real?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but I still struggle. I struggle with, that ADHD is never going away. Oh my God. I'm like a 10-year-old stuck in a kid's body.
Yes.
My kids, sometimes in the morning, I'll sip a little bit of coffee and then I'm like running around the house and I'm like, give me some Lubbies right now. Come here.
They're
Get
like,
your Lubbies. And
she's awake. She's awake.
They're like, oh my God. My daughter goes, Mom, I think you might have a little bit of Tourette's like that girl Bailey on TLC.
I love Bailey. It's Baylin.
Baylin. I was so close. Baylin. Yes. And I was like, maybe a little bit. I could possibly, you know.
You know what it is? You lived so low for so long that you've got some making up to do. So you've got a light and a life to live and have fun with every day, because each day is precious. You could have died at any moment, but you didn't. God had a plan for you and a purpose for you, and here you are, and you can change the world.
I love that.
And I just think it's good for the world to see law enforcement from a different perspective than what they see on the news all the time.
Right.
And I found myself sitting around going, God, they need to fix this. Those people need to do this. They need to do that. And I say it all the time. Who's they? I'm they.
I love that.
I have every
Who's
opportunity
they?
to
They
be
need to
they.
fix the world. Well, who the hell is they? That was perfect.
I'm they. So if I don't take a step up and do it, and stop sitting around on my butt just complaining all the time. I mean, I was the complaint committee for so long.
Sure.
And now it's like, no, screw that. I think I need to be the change committee, and coming out in front like this, speaking publicly with what I do and how I do it, and, you know, being, I don't know, like you said, just transparent and vulnerable. I don't always get the best reception either. You know, people don't like it. I'm an outspoken person, and it's not always well received. And
they
that's
don't have
okay.
to. They don't have to like it.
They don't. It's okay. I don't care. I hope that I can positively affect you as well. But we need this. Our world needs this. If we don't sit and talk and learn about one another, how the heck are we going to change things? You guys want to keep seeing, you know, all the violence on the news all the time, or do we want to see some good news? Right. So be the good news, be the change. You know, what's the saying? Be the change you want to see.
100%. So what about, so you're in law enforcement. Tell me the feedback you get from your fellow friends or colleagues in law enforcement regarding how transparent you are and being out in the public eye. What is the feedback you get from that on that side?
There's a lot of positive.
Oh, good.
You know, there's the negative too, just like anything, anywhere.
Everyone. Yeah. There's always going to be, I don't care what you do in life, there's always going to be a crowd not sharing, and that's fine.
That's right, and that's okay. You know, just you can not like it if you don't want to. But most of it, you know, most of my close colleagues are very supportive, and they're like, I don't know how you do it, because most officers are pretty, you know, we're pretty private. You know, we don't want people to know what we do. We try to hide. You know?
A lot of them are not even on social media. Like I have a lot of law enforcement friends that are like, I don't want to be on social media because I don't want anybody arrested finding me, like anything like that. So that is not the norm for law enforcement to put themselves out there. Have you heard of Officer Norman?
Yeah, I love him.
So do I.
Officer Norman.
Isn't he the best?
He's in full community.
Oh my gosh. He gets out there and just really, I mean, and he goes out there into a rough community and he just builds a relationship. Like, he's incredible.
That's what we need.
Oh yeah. I heard him talking one day and he was like, he said when he first started doing that, he would pull up and the kids would run because they'd be like, oh my God, the cops are here. Run, we're in trouble. And he's like, no. I got candy for you. I got snacks. I came to just hang out with you. Like, let's sit on the porch and talk. How's your summer going?
And now they love him.
And now they love him. And he pulls up and they come running. I love that.
They come running instead of running away.
Yeah.
You know, and
he's the best. He's so cute.
He's so funny too, you know, and that's what we need. And not everybody has it. Not everybody can do that. And
way more people don't have it than do have it.
That's
for
true.
Sure.
People can't sit like this. People can't run a podcast, do a podcast. They would be more nervous than any, you know. We have it. We have the gift. It's just like somebody who's a mortician. Not everybody could do that job.
Yeah,
there's a select few. So if you have the ability and the gift that God gave you, then use it. You know, we have a voice. God gave us a voice and a platform. So use it for positive instead of negative. And I think that's what we're doing.
I love that.
You know, not everybody has to get down, but it's all good. You know, you don't have to get down, but I'm going to get up.
Right. Well, I think I wonder what the percentage is, but it's even just like entrepreneurship it's a small percentage in the world, right? And so if you have that gift, like I feel like me and you, I think we connected right away because we're both got like that high energy, the outgoing, all the things. Those are gifts.
Those are gifts.
Those are gifts that God gave us, and use that shit.
Use it.
Use it. 100%.
Find your own gift. Find your own passion. Find your own gift and use it in such a way. It doesn't have to be what we do. It can 100%. Be what you do, you know, and I teach that to kids. Find your niche. You know, don't die trying to make a living. Why is making a living feel like dying sometimes, you know? So find a way to pay your bills and then find a way to live your passion. Sometimes 100%. Those two things coincide and a lot they don't. But find something you're happy at that you have to go to every day to make a living. And then what you actually really love, like this kind of stuff. You and I aren't paying our bills yet with this, but we will.
That's my exact attitude. Yes. I love it. Like I built my cleaning business. Now that was to pay the bills. Do I love cleaning? Not necessarily that much. Did I do a lot of cleaning? Fuck yeah, I did.
And you are but you're running it now.
To build it, I am running it. But my passion comes with like the things now where I get to have a podcast. I'm traveling. I have tons of appearances coming up. Like things that I'm like, what? How do I even get to do this? And I just get to go around and share with people like the passion inside. Like I'm so passionate and you're so passionate about what we believe in and about the change and teaching people like get the fuck out of your own way.
That's right.
So many people, you know what the problem is? Right there. It's your brain. You are your biggest obstacle. And it's like just getting people to understand, the people in the jails, the people out there struggling from anxiety, the single moms who don't know if they can ever get through it, or all of these people, just like really helping them to understand that like you're your limitation. You can actually do anything you want.
That's it.
You know,
most of the time it's not the stuff in our way. It's our, like you said, it's
our mindset. It is our limiting belief. Like people are, what if I fail? I seen actually I posted a quote the other day. What is it? It says, if you fail, it only affects you once. You only get hurt one time by it, but regret, that lasts a lifetime.
Ain't that the truth?
I loved that. I'm like, and you know, I remember getting sober, like I did have some fear like that. What if I fail? What if I fail? Now I don't even care if I fail. Like I fail all the time at shit. You know how many things I do something one way and I'm like, that was a horrible idea. Yeah, we're not going to do it that way anymore. But like, that's how you learn in life. Like, I mean, even from the beginning with your career with law enforcement, getting into social media, I'm sure you failed many times.
Over and over.
And that's how you learn.
That's right.
That's how we learn.
Especially being a woman in law enforcement, you know, and a small statured female at that, you have a lot to prove. It's hard. You don't have a different, I mean, they sometimes they alter some of the physical testing specifications, but for the most part, you're doing exactly the same thing as anyone else.
Right.
And if it's important enough to a person, you're going to keep trying. If not, you'll make excuses as to why you can't. But there's also nothing wrong with saying, okay, this plan didn't work. Let's try a different plan.
100%. I don't care how long you've been in business, how long you've been in social media, all these things, no one knows it all, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to, it's trial and error. Yes. Everything is trial and error, and to try it one way. Do you know how many billionaires today screwed up and had to file bankruptcy from certain businesses?
Oh, all the time.
Like, there is tons, or that have failed, and businesses have failed and everything like that. But it's okay. Failure is part of growth. And I think so many people are so scared of failure. Even like people sitting in jail.
Yes.
They're like, I'm scared because what if I don't make it? You've been failing for 10 years. Yes. What are you talking about? Every single day that you get up and you hit that pipe, or you do, that's a fail. That is a fail. You failed your kids. You failed your family. You failed probably your employer, like all these things. Mm-hmm. So why not be willing to do that for something good?
That's right. And you're going to fall on your face. Yeah. I always tell people, if it's hard, then it was worth it. And if it's easy, then it probably wasn't meant to be.
No, hell no.
The best things are the most challenging to accomplish.
Nothing worth having comes easy.
You
have to hustle. You know what's a great thing that my counselor told me when I was in rehab? I remember this. Because staying high when you're a drug addict is not easy. Mm. You have no job. You can't keep a job. You're constantly haggling, hustling, like, okay, maybe if I help this person get this, then I can take a little bit of it and have enough to get me through the day, or maybe I can hustle this guy out of this money. It's a whole ass ordeal to maintain. Oh my God, let me lie to my mom. I don't know where I'm at. Maybe I'll tell her I'll be right back because I got to go get this. I can't. Or go on a family vacation, shit, I gotta sneak away and be able to get high. Like all these things, it is so much work. Mm. And my counselor goes, if you take that amount of energy and obsession you put into keeping yourself high for 12 years into something good.
Look at you.
You can fucking accomplish the world.
Look at you, Lindsey.
And that's exactly what I did.
That's amazing.
I got sober and I put that obsession towards success. And it was the same thing. Do crackheads take a no for an answer?
They sure don't.
Does a crackhead wake up in the morning and say, you know what, shit, it's a little too hard. I don't think I'm going to get high today. No. They're like, whose house do I got to rob?
Yeah, they just, even if it's negative work, they put in the work.
100%. Yeah. And so they do whatever it takes. So imagine, like telling that, I want to work in the jail so much. I was telling you that. And I just need to get that connection to go in there.
Yes.
It's like, all this work that you put into keeping yourself where you're at, put that shit towards something good.
That's right.
Addicts and alcoholics who get their shit together are some of the most incredible people I know. They kick ass.
Yeah.
They kick ass.
I mean, you're the one I see, and if you're the definition of it, yeah, let's go.
Right.
Let's fix
I love you.
I had a buddy who was the same as you, and I think now he's got 12 or 15 years sober.
Nice.
And he was a dealer, and he also got high. I don't know how you do both of those things, but okay. And he was so good at it. Yeah. Like you said, you never quit. Well, when he decided to get sober and turn his life around, he had $200 in his pocket, and he was living in a transition house situation, and that was the last of the drugs he wanted to do, and that last prison sentence he wanted to do. And he bought some silverware, and he turned around and flipped them.
Oh, I love that.
And then he was hooked. That was it. He was
a new
hooked
addiction.
on that.
It's a new addiction.
So, imagine telling your probation or parole officer, hey, I need a scale, but it's not for what you think.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so he turned that into he's like you, a homeowner. He runs a buying and selling and trading gold and silver, and he's richer than I am. And like you said, it's a new,
good for him.
It's a new quest. It's a new thing. He was on one of my podcasts too.
Oh,
and
I love that.
It's just a new thing. And for you to be able to teach people living in where you were living how to turn that around, at least give them the hope, the visual hope of what it could be.
Right, 100%. Yes. And even just seeing, there's so many people that are like, you weren't a homeless drug addict. Oh, yeah, I was.
That's why I like when you post the
pictures. I was missing teeth.
Yeah.
No. We're talking low, and how it's funny how you said he was a drug dealer. It's not funny, but It's like you have the entrepreneurship in you from the beginning. Like my early years, I was a stripper. And that's a form of entrepreneurship,
Isn't
right?
it?
So it's like, I think we kind of have it in us. And then as I was out there, I was obviously like wheeling and dealing and selling drugs or doing whatever the hell I have to do
Right.
to stay high. But it's almost like a lot of like drug addicts and alcoholics, you know, we have all these same things. So we have the alcoholism, the drug addiction, we have the entrepreneurship, the ADHD, the anxiety, all these things. And so, yeah, like my early on years was, you know, entrepreneurship. So it's like taking that, and it's like sometimes we can take something that's so positive and do it in a negative.
Yes.
Like it's not easy to be a drug dealer.
No, it isn't.
It's like running a business that you have to hide.
I see that.
You
I
know,
get you.
right?
Yeah,
And
I
so
can
that
see
can't be easy.
Right.
But it's like, so take that energy and turn that shit towards something positive.
Running a business.
And I think
Right.
most addicts in jail are some form of a drug dealer. Because that's what they have to do out there.
I see.
Either the women end up in the sex industry, 100%. At some form, if you are in addiction for anything more than probably a couple years, you're going to somehow end up either in sales or in
Your
the
body.
sex industry,
Yeah.
your body. It's just, that's just what happens. Rarely can they keep a regular job. I work with hundreds of women. I mean, thousands of women have I heard their story. And most either were in drug sales or they ended up, usually they end up at a strip club, and then it turns into, you know, escort. And then if they keep going really, really low, then they end up like an actual, you know, like street walking prostitute.
Or
and so,
sex trafficked.
and they're
that's the
all on
worst.
OnlyFans as well,
Right.
which no judgment. I know a lot of incredible people on OnlyFans. If that's what you want to do, like no judgment. But
to fuel a drug addiction, there's where we need to make the change.
correct.
Right?
If you're doing it and you're sober and that's what you do, go for it. But most of them are doing it to fuel a drug addiction. Like most of them are not wanting to do it. They're doing it because they can't wake up. I remember I could not get up. If I did not have, like, I used to be scared to go to sleep if I didn't have a sack for the morning.
Got it.
Because I couldn't get up. Like I would sleep for 3 days straight until somehow I figured out how to get one.
Isn't that
And so
crazy?
it's insane.
And now you and I can't sleep for 5 hours because we have stuff that we want to accomplish.
Oh, I know, my brain will not
That's
shut
right.
off. But you know what it is? You're in a fucking cage. It is a trap.
Yes.
Addiction is a trap. It's like this panicked moment that, like, if I don't have it, I can't even function.
Yeah, you know, and I think that's why I like doing this work with you and other people who have suffered from addiction, because we have more in common than we think, and we have the ability to make a difference more than we realize
100%.
as a team. You know, and, you know, I'll tell you what, all the officers I've ever worked with, you know, 99% of us want to see a positive change. That's what we put the uniform on to start with. It was so that we can see and work and experience a reward of helping people, whatever that looks like, helping them looks like.
Right.
You know, but when there's a statistic that the average person in 20 years will see 3 to 5 major incidents. A cop sees 700 in 20 years. Okay. So we at some point just
insane.
get so broken down and jaded inside, and you just constantly see trauma that at some point you get to a place where you're like, fuck it. Everything sucks. You know, I hate everybody. Nobody's good, because all we ever do is go to bad things. It's not somebody's good day when we show up. It's probably their worst. You always remember the cop's face that showed up to the worst day. And for us, it's just another call for service.
Right. Well, and how does that, so just touch on that a little bit. Like, how has that affected your life? I have dated a couple cops in my lifetime, and that was something they struggled. I actually had one that I went with him to a course he took on trauma, and it was a room full of law enforcement. And the stories they told, they were just talking about it with a straight face. And I was like, I mean, like showing up to homes where babies had been like really
Yep, bad
beaten
things.
to death, or just all these horrible things, and they had to see it and deal with it. Not just the trauma they talked about was not just the incident they seen, but dealing with the loved ones,
That's right.
dealing with the parents
yes.
of them, or all of that, right? So tell me a little bit about like how that has affected you.
You know, I think when you go to work and you come home to your spouse or partner, whoever you're with, and they ask how your day was, you know, somebody, whatever your day looked like. It was hard, payroll was wrong, you know, my phone broke, my tire got flat on the freeway.
Sure.
That's an average day for you.
Correct,
You
right,
come
absolutely.
home and you love a cop, and we say, yeah, it was good. Our average day was we got into a fight, we drove 130 on the freeway, we saw a dead baby, we pulled a kid out of a pool. You know, we saw
Oh,
somebody
God,
who
the
shot
shit out of the-
themselves.
yeah.
You know, that's an average day for us. And we stop needing to describe it. And we just go, it was fine, because we don't talk about it anymore. You know, and then at the end of a 4-day, 10-hour day, you know, work week, and our energy and our heart rate has spiked for 4 straight days, and we come home on our Friday, and, you know, the kid drops something and it was a loud bang, and then we lose our mind and everybody gets cussed out, and
Sound
everybody's
like
like,
PTSD.
what's wrong with them? You know what I mean?
Right.
You're always so grumpy when you come home, you know, and you have no idea what we just saw for 4 days straight. So it becomes a real problem for us to have really great interpersonal relationships, you know. I live alone for a reason, because I realize that I don't have it in me yet.
Sure.
You know, I still have a lot of healing to do.
At least you
that's
know
okay.
that.
I
and
do.
that's a positive thing to know that.
Well, you know, the sad part is that I had to ruin a lot of relationships to figure that out. You know,
it happens.
and you know, I'm okay to own it. I'm accountable for it. You know, and an apology is owed to a lot of people. You know, that I've helped to struggle, just
Sure.
with my own stuff, that I wasn't aware of what I was doing. But it does become a real challenge then, and you meet cops that have been doing it for a while, and there's a reason why we're called salty. You know, and I found myself getting there, you know, to this place where I was miserable to be around. I was miserable around myself. And that's when I figured out, oh my gosh, I became everything I didn't want to become. I said, I'm never going to let law enforcement ruin me.
Well,
And it did.
self-awareness.
Yes.
Self-awareness is the thing. And you see all that, but you still know there's so much great in the world.
But I started to
incredible.
lose that. Do you see what I
Yeah.
mean? There was a point where I lost it. And I said immediately, all right, a change is going to occur right now. And it took me a little bit. It was like I had to hit that emotional rock bottom. And then I decided for myself, a change is going to happen. And how do I do that? I have to help, because I'm a helper. I'm here to protect and serve. So
Right.
how do I do this? How do I protect and serve myself now? And that is by giving back as a whole, like this. It became to where it wasn't enough for me to get into a patrol car, call, and go to somebody's worst day and help them. That stopped being enough for me. That started actually being a problem
Sure.
for my mental health. And so now this is how I give back. How can we help on a larger scale? I think we need to get to the root of the problem, whether it's for officers who are in the place that I was or worse, or somebody like you at rock bottom who needs an officer to look them in the face and go, you can do this. And that's where I am now, is being able to,
that.
you know, build those interpersonal relationships with people who need to get sober, need to get help, and maybe they've never had a female role model in their life. And if that's me, because I've been given that platform, I've earned that platform, then that's the direction I'm taking at this point, you know. And I think for you and me, and we can segue towards the end here, we're those people also. That's not enough, right? We always see, like, what's the next level? What can I do next? We never are status quo, you and I. We're not that
Right.
person. So now what does that lead us to, right? Like movies and talk shows and all kinds of cool stuff, you
That's
know?
amazing.
And so it's like people are like, well, what are you doing with all this? I don't know.
Sharing it with the world.
Sharon and Karen.
Sharon and Karen. And, yeah, I love that. Sharon and Karen.
I don't
Seeing
know.
where God takes
That's
me.
right.
And you know what's like the goals I'm reaching for, things I want to be on right
Yep.
now, it's going to even grow and grow. So sharing and caring and like just making a difference in the world,
That's
right?
it.
And having an incredible life while you're doing it.
And having a good time.
That's the
You know?
best. Yeah.
We can't mention some of the stuff that's coming up for either one of us. You know, we're still in the
But
developing
stay
stages.
because you will see.
But stay tuned.
Yes.
You know, it's
so
like
many good things.
when we
Woo!
talk about what we're working on, we're like, can you ever in your wildest dreams have thought this is where we'd
Hell
be?
no.
On the phone with each other. You're talking to a friend who's an officer.
Yeah.
I'm talking to a former drug addict turned millionaire business owner doing some stuff I couldn't even wrap my brain around that you've been able to accomplish, you know? And so, I mean, what an incredible path that we're on.
So
you know,
awesome. Yeah.
When we're standing on the carpets at the Oscars in a few years, you know, I keep saying that. You know,
Oh, wait, for sure.
yeah,
For
you know,
sure,
like,
yeah.
can you believe we're here?
I
You
know.
know, how did we do this? You know, and it's like I try to think, what do I love, and what am I as fulfilled doing as I am sitting in the seat of a police vehicle? Because that was my safe space. If that
Sure.
doesn't
Totally
sound,
makes sense,
You
yeah.
know, it's one of the most dangerous places you can be in the world, and occupations. And in that seat, I felt safe and fulfilled more than anything else I've ever done. And I had to stop and think, what else is going to give that to me while not making my brain suffer anymore?
And it's this.
It's
the
this.
sharing and caring.
It's the sharing and caring. It's the speaking. It's the motivation for other people.
Well, and it's fun. It's fun at that. How many incredible people do we meet? How many people, and how often do we get out of our comfort zone? I love that. When I wake up and I'm like, ooh, what I have to do today is scary. I'm way nervous. I'm like, fuck yeah. I love that. That shit like fills my cup, because that means I'm trying new things. I'm growing. I'm getting out there. I'm reaching new people. I'm doing all the things.
And people say all the time, aren't you scared to be a public speaker?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, every time.
Yeah.
But also no, because I just go up there and as soon as that microphone gets in my face or the audience is now engaged and ready, I go, this is my spot. This is where I'm meant to be. Yeah. You know, and again, it's a gift, and not everybody can stand on that stage. You know, what's funny is
there's a gift.
There's a statistic that people are most afraid of public speaking and second death. You know what I mean? So it's like you'd rather be dead than like doing the eulogy. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
It's like funny to think about that. So if the number one fear of the average person is public speaking, and that's what we're doing every day, girl, we're winning.
Hell yeah.
We're winning.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like
I agree.
That serotonin and dopamine. So I am honored to be your first guest.
Thank you so much, you guys. Lacey is incredible. And this was our first official episode of Bear It All with Lindsey. I have so many incredible guests lined up, you guys. This is just like, I'm so grateful that I get to do this podcast. Like, this is exciting. I woke up so excited this morning for that. So thank you so much. It was great having you, Lacey.
I'm honored. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see where we go.
Awesome. Do you want to let people know how they can find you on social media?
I sure do. So Instagram, everything's under my name. I am definitely not Secret Squirrel. Lacey with an E, L-A-C-E-Y, Nelson. My website is laceynelson.com. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I don't understand the Twitter yet, or if it's even needed.
I don't use Twitter either.
I don't either. So, you know, Instagram's probably my biggest platform. TikTok's yours.
TikTok is mine, but I'm really working on growing my Insta right now, especially in like the LA market. It's like your business card. Nobody even asks for a business card. They're like, what's your Insta?
Yeah, what's your IG? I've learned what's sliding into someone's DMs. I think I'm getting old. This girl said it now. Can I slide into your DM? I'm like, what does that? I don't know whether to be offended or say.
Do I want you to do that or not? Is that a good thing? Okay.
Your kids are gonna laugh at me. They're like, they're so old and weird.
So give us a follow. My Insta is the same on all platforms, Linnsey Dolson. So we'd love to have you guys follow us. Have a great day.